Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hold Up, the show where we dive deep inside your childhood nostalgia, pull the movies from your past out to see if they hold up. We did a little switcheroo today. I'm Chase, and I'm holed up with Kyle only. The first time it's just me and him on this show solo. Kyle, welcome back from federal prison, my friend.
Thank you. It's nice to be back, kind of. I did get into a routine and a habit while I was there, and it really made sense to me. So I was pretty locked in. I do miss aspects of it. The male bonding, it was a huge part of it, as well as just, figuring out a clique to be in, you
What
know.
clique did you get involved in?
Oh, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. There's a little MS-13, a little bit of everything. You just don't piss off anybody, really, and that was my whole MO. So
Gotcha. You
but they
do a
did
lot
call
of
me Big
smuggling?
Dog.
Big dog.
No. They called me Big Dog. Yeah. No, I
Gotcha.
was in charge of morale. So, yeah.
Well,
Yep.
I'm glad that you got off on parole. Do you want to say anything to Andrew, who's right now? What is he traveling the world? I don't know what he's even doing. He's just not here. I know that.
No, actually, funny enough, Andrew was on the ship where the hantavirus broke out, so he's in quarantine right now.
Oh,
So, yeah,
damn.
wishing him. Well, no. It's a good experience, and like he's gonna be able to before he dies, be like, oh, at least I was one of the people who got hantavirus, which is a disease you get from saliva of rodents and their feces. So it fits him. It fits him.
Well, it was one of those things that he was always into, and I knew that that was going to cost him one day. Like
Well,
we were
again,
trying
you
to tell
you
him, you can't be addicted to mouth kissing certain rodents, and he was doing
yeah.
it in labs too.
Well, here's the thing, though. You and I keep on thinking of this as a slight or as a bad thing. For him, it was a boon. Like this was just he couldn't be happier that he was able to have one of the rarest cases of transmissible rodentia to human contact since the bubonic plague. Really, again, hats off to him. But he's quarantined. He's being quarantined right now, and I'd wish him all the best. But this he's having a good time. So why don't you get back to work, fucker? So
Yeah, it's time.
wishing it certainly is time, Chase. It certainly is.
Well, that's also time for us to talk about a little bone, a little Monkeybone. We watched Monkeybone.
Yeah,
I'm wondering.
boner.
I'm wondering how many people are going to listen to this episode and remember this movie, right? Like,
Oh,
you think so?
probably not a lot. Maybe. I mean, like this is a fairly adult movie for when it came out. When did this come out? 2001.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, it's
2001
a
or two.
fairly adult movie that lives pretty heavily in the 90s. Like the whole feeling I got the entire time was 90s. Didn't
Yeah,
get any kind of 2000 turn of the century. It very much lived in that like 1995, 94, 93 world.
right.
So I think if you were maybe like a little bit older adult, like my cousin Josh might remember this one. He was definitely of that age where he might have graduated high school around then, a little bit before then actually. So this would have been right around that time. But it's going to be a split case. I don't know. I certainly didn't see it, and I would not have been allowed to see this when I was that age. There's a little too many adult themes in it.
Yeah, and it was PG-13, and we were what, 10 and 11,
Yeah.
and so it would have been a movie that maybe I saw it on DVD, like when it came out. It was one of those DVD rentals that we got, and I don't think it was like, I think it was like 2002, 2003 that I saw it. So I would have been right at that 13-year mark. So I didn't see it as an underage child. And of course, I think a lot of the themes were lost on me. The reason I chose this movie too is because I just remember it being kind of, for me as a kid, being batshit insane.
It
And
is.
and I was like, I wonder if that movie is still batshit insane to this time. Like Brendan Fraser was hot right at that time.
It
Coming
was.
off The Mummy, and The Mummy Returns, I think, was shortly after this in 2002.
Uh-huh.
And then do you remember Bedazzled?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so he was a hot star at that time, and I think this was right before his career took a turn when he had that surgery and it messed him up, and then Hollywood dumped him out like the bathwater that he was at the time. But
Oh, so sad.
glad to see him making a comeback, though. Very glad to see.
Oh,
He's
he's
making
making. Well, he's a great person
and an
and
actor,
what
great
an
actor.
amazing actor, and he was back then. This just wasn't one of his better movies, but he certainly wasn't bad in it at all. But again, you work with the script that you got, and that script was wacky doodle.
Yeah,
wacky.
a lot of themes that we're going to talk about. But Kyle, before we talk about the movie in depth, I want you to tell me a little bit about your energy levels today using dream terms.
Oh, I'm having a waking nightmare. So this is like one of those where you're sleeping and you are there is like something out of the corner of your eye that you're noticing, but you definitely can't move, and you can hear something like coming up right next to your ear and breathing heavily, raspily, and it gets up to your ear and it says run, and then you wake up.
Okay. So, good day.
So middling, yeah,
Yeah.
middling.
Yeah. You got a paycheck, it sounds like, or like
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least
yeah,
you're
yeah.
working for someone else to make a paycheck?
Correct. Yes. More well aptly said.
Do you Did you watch this movie as a kid at all?
No, nope.
Okay.
Had no understanding or was definitely again not allowed to see this movie. This was been like even if I was 13, I still probably wouldn't be able to see it. But again, it's just kind of like in that weird in between world of I feel like this was produced in like 99 and like filmed and they sat on it or something happened because it just does not fit 2001. The whole time I was watching this, I was like, oh, this is like early 90s. It feels very much like that with like the wacky aspect and element of everything. So I don't know if I would say it's something I would have seen or even I would have remembered it if I'd seen it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I like I said, I saw this on DVD, but I didn't remember anything but the monkey. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't have a lot of staying power. It felt like it just was there in 2001 and it just left.
Yep.
We will say this up front, and this is not our opinion. It's just the facts here is that it was critically panned, so it wasn't a movie that did well in the eyes of critics. I think there's a lot going on in this film, which we'll touch on. And it deals with some high end themes too that I think was lost on it. And there's not much to this movie, like as far as like production and all that, but there's some animated parts, which we'll touch on. The animated parts were done by the Cartoon Network. And
Oh, really?
Cartoon Network promoted this movie a lot on its station. And at the time, a lot of parents got upset because what you talked about, there's a lot of adult themes. They didn't think that
There are quite a few.
this was not a movie that was tailored to the kids that Cartoon Network was airing for. So Cartoon
No.
Network created Adult Swim.
Oh,
Yep.
really?
So they could also gather in that teen to older audience. I think it happened in correlation with this movie. So this movie is responsible for Adult Swim.
Wow. That's huge. That Adult Swim is still going strong to this day.
Yeah, and probably the only thing keeping Cartoon Network afloat, let's be honest.
I mean, maybe.
But yeah, so that just kind of became a thing, this movie is historical in that sense. It's got a decent cast. We talk about Brendan Fraser in it, but you also have Whoopi Goldberg, and then we have Chris Kattan, which I always love seeing Chris Kattan.
Well, he saved the last part of this movie from being interminable dross.
Yes.
Like, just he really picked everything up. His physical acting, his physical comedy is great, really great. We also have two stars from the Breaking Bad universe in this movie.
We do.
I'm sad Andrew's not here to talk about it because he would go off. But we have Bob Odenkirk.
We'd have to shut him up.
He would. No, he'd be talking about this for 10 minutes. We have Bob Odenkirk, though, and Giancarlo Esposito, who plays Gus and Saul, respectively. Very good actors in their own right. Comedically, I had never seen Giancarlo act like that, and he was great. He was really good. As what was his moniker? Oh, he's Hypnos. That's who he is. He's Hypnos. He's the guy, one of the guys in the underworld. And Bob Odenkirk was the head surgeon. So two very different roles, but we got to see Giancarlo act in a comedic way, which I'd never seen. I'm not saying he's never done anything else, but like this was very early on in his career. And I don't think he did anything until Breaking Bad. And like whenever he got on, it was like that 2007, 2008, I think, was when he started appearing on the show. So he had like a long drought in between then and then. And I would say, obviously, his breakout would be as the drug kingpin in Breaking Bad. So he really was kind of acting in his in betwixt years during this. So we really got to see him in a very comedic and fun role. Bob Odenkirk obviously just crushed it. Such a funny character for the end of the movie, and I bet there's some stuff we could probably get into with the kind of the hidden meaning behind stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
and I think this movie calls for that, where we're going to have to kind of dig through the weeds a little bit because this movie is not
mhm.
straightforward. This movie is
No.
going to play a little bit into that like surreal realm. I do have a question for you, and I think
Mm,
you probably know the answer to this. Do you think this movie was a success?
no, absolutely not.
So I'm going to play the role of Andrew today, but Andrew kind of just runs through the numbers sometimes. I'm going to make you guess because I think that's fun for our listeners. What do you think the budget was for this film?
Oh, because I was going to say the CGI and the visual effects were great. I did watch this on a phone, so shame on me. But like they were great, which means that they were expensive for that time because that was right around the dawn of the. This is around the time Lord of the Rings is being made, dude. So like it's a little bit of both. You got a little bit of live action, you got a little bit of movie magic, you got a little bit of CGI. So that means it's expensive. So I'm going to say the budget for this upwards of $100 million.
Okay. Yeah, you're not too far off. It is at 75 mil.
Okay, not too far.
Um,
So that's pretty. That's pretty. That's a lot of money.
and I'm just going to cut down to the worldwide gross, okay? Do you want to take a guess at what this movie made? So 75 mil is the budget. What do you want to think that this movie grossed?
15,
You're going to say
15 million.
15. That would be a box office disaster, wouldn't it?
Uh huh. Yep.
It made $7.6 million.
That's crazy.
That's probably going to be up there at one of the biggest box office bombs we ever look at on this show.
Wow.
That is,
Hatred, pure hatred. And you know why it probably didn't do that well is because it was in between being a full adult movie and a kids movie. Even though I would argue this is fully adult.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But you probably had that. Probably right. I mean, there was probably parents because like it was advertised on Cartoon Network, and it got a lot of like angry parents that
hmm
probably took their kids to see
hmm
this because it was it's Brendan Fraser who wasn't known to do like even doing the Mummy. Those are family oriented roles.
hmm
So he wasn't into the full on adult style humor and stuff. So yeah, they probably saw
Mm-mm.
Brendan Fraser and saw animation like this is a good family film to take my kid to see. It did get a PG-13 rating. So, there's
Which
not
it definitely deserves. So there's a lot of suggestive, like vulgar, while also being clean and a lot of innuendo in this movie that's like just not very subtle. It's very in your face and Ren and Stimpy ish, honestly, which is again interesting that this bred Adult Swim, which also helped get Ren and Stimpy picked up, the adult version that is. So interesting stuff. Very, hmm, very interesting.
yeah, and one day we're going to compile the worst box office movies we look at, but I don't even have to look anything up and know this has to be a top 10 bomb of all time. Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily what it made, but the budget. I mean, you didn't that's a $68 million loss.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the advertising that went into this, and I'm sure they thought about doing some plush or toy line. I don't remember, but it seems
Well,
like that kind of movie.
they made enough of those monkeys for me to think that maybe they did.
It seems
Um,
like something they would do because we talked about it too. Like all these movies at that time, especially that In Betweener movie, they always try to get
yep.
toys on the market, try to get kids to buy them, and or
hmm
their parents to buy them for the kids. And we had so many mismatched toys throughout my upbringing. I know you probably did too, where you had like a box and it had like Batman, Superman, uh,
hmm
like Titan AE stuff. Like who knows? But does it hold up? I mean, that's going to be the question. And I don't know if you listened to last week's episode with me and Andrew, but we have a new king for worst film we've ever seen, and it's The Master of Disguise, which me and Andrew have agreed that we would rather go watch Batman and Robin again than ever watch The Master of Disguise. So
Oof, that's not going to be able to be a score for me then because I didn't see it, and like you're saying a lot with that statement. We're talking about something that had no direction as a story or as a film was just completely in and out of two different. Like, are we being Batman and Robin? Are we being a comedy? Is this something like who the fuck is this? Why is this in here? Just terrible effects. Like it would have to if it's gonna be that's our lowest bar on the show. So I'll have to watch it and let you know because we can't that won't be able to be like a score that actually holds up. Because if I even think that it's a whiff better than that, I hate that movie. I will
Yeah,
never watch that movie
we,
ever again.
I think you would agree with us. Knowing you like I know you, I think you would agree with us. And that episode last week, the only reason it was even remotely shorter was because we didn't have all three of us. You would have torn that movie to shreds. With Batman and Robin, it's at least so bad at certain parts, it's funny. I'm like a Batman credit card. I can laugh at that. There was nothing in the Master of Disguise that even remotely came close to that. It was just all fart jokes the whole time.
Mm.
But that's the new king, and I don't think we're gonna get close to that anytime soon. But we're gonna look at a movie that is critically panned and was a box office bomb. So at least we're working in that realm. But Kyle, lead us off, man. Where does Monkeybone start, and how does it begin?
Begins with a montage of a painter painting a monkey, a little cartoon monkey, like a curious George, like a vulgar curious George. And we then go into it's like a showing for a movie, and it shows a cartoon strip of Monkeybone, this man's made up imaginary dream friend, Monkeybone, who's into mischievousness, and it's like another it's like a deeper version of himself that he doesn't show off to anybody. It's his most like base instincts of this person who's being evaluated by a psychologist.
His primal side, his sexual
Mm-hmm.
inhibitions, and like party side of him, the stuff that a lot of people control is what I think the monkey is. But
Mm-hmm.
the way that they get to it is very strange because it opens with a teacher drawn on a
Mm-hmm.
chalkboard, and it's kind of drawn like, I mean, how would we describe this animation style? It's obviously
This is
going for a certain style.
It's very Dexter's Lab, so
That's
I
it.
can
Yeah.
see like where they like Powerpuff, oh, not Powerpuff Girls, but not dissimilar from it, like Johnny Bravo. Like
Yeah.
it's very hard black lines.
Comic book style.
Yeah,
It
but
pops.
very much reminds me of Dexter's Lab, and it was pretty funny. I thought it was pretty well done.
Well,
Um,
and it gets weird really quickly because he's like, and it's obviously Brendan Fraser narrating this, and this is a show that they're pitching to a board. We just don't know that yet. But in the cartoon,
mhm.
he's like a kid, and he's like, he was like, yeah, when I was like 8 years old, I saw the teacher writing on the board, and for some reason, she removed her sweater, and I could see her arm flaps.
Yeah,
And he starts talking about her arm flaps and gets an erection and says he just got
yeah,
aroused by her arm flaps, and he's embarrassed because all the kids are laughing at him for having an erection, and it just becomes this like chaos scene, and then the monkey shows up and it's called Monkeybone,
yep.
and it's just very strange.
And he just like essentially Monkeybone helped him feel like you're normal. This is not a bad thing or weird
Yeah.
at all.
And then he starts
And
dancing in between the teacher's flaps like the
uh huh.
monkey is, and he's like rubbing his ass cheeks against it, so it very sexual. So we're starting off
Hmm.
like where I'm like, okay, yeah, this is not for younger kids. This
No,
is
no, no. It is definitely not. It is for, I mean, like high schoolers,
yeah,
like at the very youngest.
yeah,
And there's gonna be a lot of that kind of stuff in here. A lot
and
of sex themed stuff.
only high schoolers would too laugh at that. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't really that funny. It kind of took me by surprise because I was like, what are we even doing here? And then it cuts out and pans to like a huge panel of people, and they're all like cheering, right? And they were like, that's our
Yes.
pilot, everybody. And we meet Brendan Fraser, his girlfriend, and his
Mhm.
agent. And his agent's pitching this. He's like, come on up, Brendan. And what's his name in the movie?
The character's name. Let me look it up real
Yeah,
quick.
it's
I think isn't it Stu?
Stu. So he's like, come on up, Stu. Say hi to everybody. Talk about the product. And he looks like he hates his own art. He's not really too thrilled to be there, and so he does this like kind of little shy wave, and then his agent's coming up to him, and he's like, "We've got toys, we've got all this." And I was like, why are you making toys for a show that's obviously an adult humor show where you are showing a dude get an erection from some old
Yeah.
woman's arm flaps? It doesn't make any sense. But they're just funneling merchandise on him. And
Mm-hmm.
he keeps going back to his girlfriend and he keeps saying, I just want to get out of here. I just want to be with you. I don't want any more of this. So he looks like somebody who's ready to quit. Like you can tell that it's not his art style, it's not what he wants, but he's an artist. He's a comic strip drawer. Monkeybone is a comic strip he came up with to let out some of these intuitions that he has deep down inside. And you find out without going deeply into it, his girlfriend is what, Kyle?
The doctor.
Yeah, she's a doctor. She's a sleep neurologist, right?
Yeah, so supposedly, although yeah, nothing. We don't take anything in this movie seriously when it comes to medical anything. But she's supposed to be like some kind of sleep study person, doctor who studies sleeps, like a neurologist, like Chase said, or something like that. And they met because he was in the dream study and he had like the worst dreams, right?
Yes. And she helped him talk about his dreams and she helped him create Monkeybone because she was like, you can draw with your other hand. I don't know what that had to do with changing your dreams. But he had constant nightmares to where he couldn't sleep for like 8 years. I was like, kill me now.
Yeah, yeah.
But he apparently she's like, you got to release this part of you, and he does it through a comic strip, and it gets famous, and now they're doing a TV show. But he's deeply in love with her. He says, "Oh yeah, like you saved my life. You're the only thing that makes me happy," which is always a
Mhm.
red flag, right? Like if you
Yeah.
you don't.
The only thing, another person is your source of everything is not good.
Yeah, it's okay to be happy with your significant other, but you have to share in the happiness. You can't rely
Hmm.
on each other for happiness, or you're doomed to start. But he now goes to get in his car and leave with her, and he's preparing to propose, right?
Hmm.
And they're shoveling all this merchandise into his car. Did you know?
Yeah,
Like,
for what reason?
yeah, like his little, what is he driving? Like a little Volkswagen Beetle?
I don't think it's like a little Citron or something. Like I don't know. It's something very
It's
small.
like a two-seater, and they're throwing all this
Yeah.
shit all in it. And like they even had a box, and they duct taped it to his trunk, which actually made me laugh. Just a box of merchandise hanging off the trunk. And
Yeah.
what happens now, Kyle? Now that him and his girlfriend are trying to leave, and they're being blocked by this van with all the Monkeybone merchandise, what happens?
He accidentally pulls a tab on an inflatable monkey, and it fills up the entirety of the car. And the monkey's leg that inflates presses the gas pedal, which is telling because it's almost like his alter ego is making this happen, and backs up into traffic. And then does he get hit by a car? Or does he crash into something?
He like crashes into like a pole or like a guardrail or something. It's very quick. I was thinking he was gonna get T-boned, and it doesn't happen. He just
Hmm.
kind of like crashes into something, and I kind of like the way that they did this because he crashes into something and it hits his driver's side. It's not a violent crash to where his girlfriend can walk away unscathed, and
Hmm.
she does, right? Like he ends up in a coma.
Hmm. He is definitely very much in a coma. He is on life support. He's not doing well. He had a serious brain injury of some kind, and the girlfriend's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sad." And but she goes into his room in the hospital, and his sister's there. She's pretty much just like, we had to watch our father die, so we're just like, doctor, how many weeks until he can pull the plug? I just don't want to do it. And the girlfriend's like, you what? You just want to fucking kill him? And she's like, well, it's just really hard for me, which I thought was funny, but very dark. That's a very dark theme for a children's
She
movie.
was like 5 minutes into this, and she was
Yeah,
like, "When can we pull the plug? I got
yeah.
dinner plans." And the girlfriend's like automatically traumatized, and the doctor's like, I don't know. Coma's like, I don't know when this dude's gonna get out of a coma. What are you talking about? But he eventually gives her like, he's like, after 3 months, it's pretty much brain death every day. Which I
Yeah.
do you believe that? Do you think it takes that long? Because I think that it happens sooner than that, right?
I don't think so. I think it's case by case and how much swelling's in the brain and how much of other things are going on. Because my grandma was in a coma for weeks, a month, and she almost died, but she came back. She was fine. So
Yeah.
it depends on. I think it depends on a lot of different things. So if you are somebody who is um, you know, like who's had like part of their brain removed or like severe injury or lack of oxygen to the brain is also like a really big one. So how long you go without oxygen coming in can also lead to like severe impediments and like, injuries, sorry, severe impediments if you wake up from a coma, but nonetheless like really scary like brain injuries kind of stuff that can affect your motor control, your nervous system, many different things. So it's very dependent on different things, like you can, if people plan, if like you're like slowly, like if you have a bad fever, like my grandmother had like West Nile virus, so she slowly descended into it, and I think they obviously, when she was really bad, they put her on life support, which she never went without oxygen, you know what I mean, but like
Yeah.
somebody that might like a drowning victim or somebody that gets severe hypothermia might be different than somebody who hits their head against the ground really hard, not wearing a helmet, or dives, head first into a 3 foot pool. There's so many, and like, or somebody that has a gunshot wound to the head, or something that like took out part, like physically removed part of their brain. Those are all different cases. But it seems like his was kind of like, that sounds, that of all the medical things in this, I think that actually sounds the most plausible, but I'd have to look it up.
And we get some weird medical stuff in this movie that like you can automatically write off as bullshit pretty quickly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but during this whole time when he's like slipping into a coma, they do this like really cool scene where he's like in either the hospital bed or the bed on the way to the emergency room, and they're like, yeah, his brain function is slipping. And as they're talking about him, the bed just starts kind of turning into like a void, and he starts
Mm-hmm.
falling through the bed, and he ends up in this. I was confused by this world at first because I was like, okay, are
Yeah.
we in his subconscious?
Mm-hmm.
And at first, that's what I thought it was. And everybody walking around
Me
was like
too.
his drawings or his
Mm-hmm.
work of art, and he was like having to live within the mind space that he has created.
Mm-hmm. Which would have been a very interesting and poignant, movie.
Right. And I thought a better touch than what they actually went with, which is he's just in
It's
a
just,
a
it's a
world of
different
other.
world.
It's called downtown, and
Yeah.
it's in downtown separated, and everyone in this world is in a coma or
Yep.
dying, and
Mm-hmm.
so he's just.
They're on their way down.
It's kind of like purgatory. It's like a
Correct.
weird purgatory, but it's kind of like a very Tim Burton style
It is very. You
Gotham.
took the word very Tim Burton, like Nightmare Before Christmas. Just not as much blacks and like purples. It's very '90s Broadway, like gaudy, weird face distortion and weird, really weird characters that were. I mean, it was done very, very, very well, but just almost like they were from a different time, like early to mid '90s instead of like 2001.
Yeah, and even pulling
Really,
back
really
into like
grotesque.
the early horror movies of the 40s, like especially like the Carnival movie
Hmm.
that came out like well, that was like the 20s, but kind of that weird kind of surreal style of art where everything's just
Hmm.
kind of off kilter, but there's like normal humans sprinkled in. So it kind of works and it kind of doesn't because again, you're
Yeah.
confused on where you're at. And so there's not a whole lot that happens in the first half of this movie. We can go ahead and tell everybody that, but
Hmm.
he's kind of navigating through this world. He's ends up at a bar getting served by some big like steer.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
he's drinking there and he's meeting specific characters. Like he saw Medusa at one point like
Yep.
performing, but eventually we get to a scene where as he's like trying to figure out where he's at, Monkeybone shows up, the monkey. And this is our first look at the CGI, I think. I
Yes.
think this is the first
It's
character. It's not bad CGI, but it doesn't really hold up very well. But weirdly enough, it works in this movie because you're in a surreal world. So even bad CGI somehow looks okay here.
well.
Any other
I,
move? Go ahead.
oh, I was going to say I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that statement, just because it's this is a world that's being shot through three different medias technically put together. There's like, there's regular, you know, human acting, not a lot of special effects or SFX. And then there's like movie magic that they put in there. So like a lot of these costumes and a lot of these masks and SFX in the actual town, like downtown, those characters are all handmade and animatronic to a certain degree with human actors portraying them. But then there's also CGI as well. So this is very much, I mean, like, it's a lot like Lord of the Rings. I know people are going to laugh about that, but there's a lot of practical effects, a lot of practical sets, and a lot of practical, like, movie magic and makeup. So there are some pretty bad ones, I would say, some pretty terrible ones. But for the most part, they're pretty good. But the ones that are bad are truly bad. And they are actually not CGI. They're just human. It's no attempt to make it something different. But that's my only pushback on that.
Yeah, and
Um,
and I do agree with you. I think some of these like effects here were some of them hold up and some of them don't. And I totally agree with you. Just the way that I got through it was just because like the world that they were trying to build there. Now, we see some CGI effects outside and when they get back to the normal world and that to me didn't hold up at all because it felt so
mhm.
out of place. But Monkey Bone's performing and he's a very like perverted little creature, isn't he?
Yeah, he definitely is. He is very sexual. Reminds me of Ren from Ren and Stimpy. Very just sophomoric and abrasive, not a very good character. You don't expect him to be a good-hearted character. Spoiler alert, he's not.
Yeah, he's everyone's subconscious. The devil on the shoulder, I think, is what he was trying to be. He's a part of you or a part of Brendan Fraser. And it's like the stuff that Brendan Fraser represses is what they were laying down. Whether that got through to a lot of people or not, I don't know. They lean heavily on it.
Hmm.
But it doesn't he perform as Marilyn Monroe at one point? He
He does.
creates his own boobs.
Yep.
He gets really scandalous with one of his dances. And then he
Hmm.
starts talking about Julia, which is Brendan
Hmm.
Fraser's girlfriend, who is
Yep.
topside taking care of Brendan Fraser. Even like he's growing a beard in the coma, which I thought was a nice touch, and she's like trimming it up. He
Yep.
starts talking about her in such a sexual way, it pisses Stu, Brendan Fraser, off to the point to where he starts
Hmm.
fighting with Monkeybone and it sucks we have to call him the Monkeybone. It's so stupid.
He is.
But at one point he looks over at the bar and he sees this like withered old man and this reaper comes in. We find out it's a reaper. It's just kind of
Hmm.
like a white cloaked
Yeah, a
individual.
husk. For those for the Skyrim fans, it's like a husk
Shout out to all the
almost.
Skyrim
Not
fans
as.
out there.
Yep. Skyrim. Shout out to all the Skyrim fans out there. Don't ever forget. Don't ever forget what happened at Bleak Falls Barrow.
Never forget. Um, but the Reaper shows up and gives the old man an exit pass. And everyone's like, ooh, ah, and like people are trying to avoid the Reaper. And then they go outside as the old man walks out of the bar with the exit pass and he puts it in this like mouth thing and
Hmm.
sits in this chair that resembles like what do they call those things, the hammer toss or whatever, where you hit the red button and the
Yep.
the bell goes all the way up. I don't even know what you call those things
Yep.
at a carnival, but because a lot of the outside is very carnival esque.
Very much so.
And especially with the drapery, the way that the colors interact with each other. He flies up into the sky once the Reaper hits the bell or something, and he
Hmm.
flies up into the sky. And how does he exit this world, Kyle? Because it's the dumbest thing.
Doesn't he just like
Through Abraham Lincoln's mouth.
yes, yeah, yeah. They said there's good, great Abe, the old emancipator,
Like what?
and I didn't. I'm still trying to figure out like what because it's referenced twice in the movie, so I don't know if like there's something that I'm missing there. Are we slaves to our own purgatory in a certain way, and we need to be freed from that?
Through Abraham
Uh,
Lincoln, right?
yeah. Well, one who emancipates,
I
or
guess.
somebody who can. I'm like, I don't know if I'm reading into it like too much, or
It
just
feels
like
like that's one of those writer room jokes where a bunch of writers like, oh, it'd be funny if it was Abraham Lincoln. It'd be so random, and they write it into the movie, and then you're like, that was stupid. Never do that again.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I could see it go. Honestly, I could see it go either way. Like there's something deeper that we're not picking up on because we're smooth brained individuals. But anybody in the comments who or in the comments, anybody who wants to let us know,
Or make a
you can
comment.
let us. Yeah, anybody who wants to let us know or make a comment, or you can put it in our Kirkland signature comment Dropbox that we will have attached to this.
It's a PO box
That we
now.
will have. It's a PO box that we will attach at the very end of this episode. So if you listen till the end, we'll give you the PO box for the Kirkland signature comment box. Which, while we're on it, we just want to take a moment and thank Kirkland Signature Products for sponsoring this show. Chase.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said last week, from Kirkland, Washington to your home, to your kitchen, for the appliances that you need, Kirkland's got it all. You don't have to go anywhere else. And guess what? They know comfort and they know customer service because they are there for you in your time of need, whatever it may be. Kirkland Signature. Kyle loves Kirkland Signature products. Erica, this is a shout out to you. How many Kirkland Signature air fryers have you bought over the years? You don't have to keep buying them. One was good enough, but you just love their products so much that you just needed another one.
Yes, and we just want to thank the folks at Kirkland for endorsing the viewpoints of this show and everything that we believe in. We're waiting for some more confirmation that we can get together and have a representative on the podcast so that we can talk about covering somebody in one of your select meat and cheese board products and making a meat cheese suit out of somebody, preferably Andrew, so that we may all eat off of it with a box of your very scrumptious crackers. So we just want to thank you for showing up day in and day out for the good folks in America. Thank you, Kirkland Signature Products.
And on top of that, if you donate $1 to the show, every dollar you donate to us and write in Kirkland Signature Products, we will make Andrew drink a bottle of wine consecutively. So we get $500, we will make Andrew drink 500 bottles of wine without stopping. You can watch this live on a stream. Don't forget to donate because you do want to watch Andrew get alcohol poisoning. That's something that we can all agree on.
And you do want to be the winner who pays us the most, particularly me. So don't forget to be the winner on that. The entries start at $500 and are unlimited in general, just like campaign donations. Chase?
I love it. I couldn't have said it better myself. So moving on, Brendan Fraser, he's chasing the Reaper around. He's getting aggressive with the Reaper. He's like, I want one of those exit passes. Why did the old man get one? Then he was about dead anyway. And so he's going around, and this is where we learn that this world is shared between individuals, and it makes no sense. There's a lot of fodder in this first, 45, 50 minutes.
There is. And to the point where when the plot gets going at this point, when we get to the halfway point, I thought the movie might have been ending. I was like, well, this is shorter than I thought it was. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh, shit, we still have a whole movie left in here. Yeah. So he figures out you can get this thing called an exit pass. So him and Monkeybone come up with a whole strategy to get it, which essentially means they're going to go to
Death.
What is
herself.
It? Death Town?
Yeah.
Death Town?
Yeah, and meet Death herself, which is played by Whoopi Goldberg.
Mm-hmm. And Death Town is very much the end of the road. This is where you're going to the next part of your journey, and it's only down from here. So they disguise themselves as one of the Reapers, go into a Reaper. Or what are they doing, Chase? They're
assigning Reapers.
You're dead.
Yeah, they're like, you can be a Reaper, you can't be a Reaper. And then it's like, I don't know. They don't really explain what the difference between the people I guess the people are dead that are Reapers and the people waiting are in comas and shit. I don't know. They don't really explain that part really well. They're trying to be comedic about it. They're like looking at resumes for a Reaper. And they're like, this dude is 40 years old. He's not dead yet. He's going to heal and live another 20 years. And they reject his form.
Mm-hmm. So they're trying to get in to just get one of the exit passes to just that they're immediately sussed out because Monkeybone's being an idiot, and so is Brendan Fraser. So they make their way up to the line. When Whoopi Goldberg looks down at her thing, they jump ahead in line. She looks down, they jump ahead, and they get to the front, and she goes, "You," and it's like, "Me?" And then she starts asking questions, and very clearly figures out that it's not them. Or not a Reaper, and it is in fact a man and a cartoon monkey. So at this point, They essentially just steal the exit pass, and there's a whole kerfuffle. And oh, I think doesn't her head blow up, Chase?
Yeah, and she like regrows it. Like,
Yeah.
but they kind of get away. And while this is going on too, this is all simultaneous. We've reached the 3 month mark in the outer world, and the sister is trying to put Brendan Fraser down. So she basically says, "We've hit the
Yeah.
3 month mark. I'm tired. Like I gave the
Mm-hmm.
doctors the word." The girlfriend figures out through his brain pattern, because again she's a sleep neurologist. She figures out he's just in a constant nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I saw this pattern with him before. So her big idea is like, I think he's still awake in there, and I think we can wake him up. All we got to do is just juice the nightmare. And
Mm-hmm.
so if they juice the nightmare, they think that they can bring him out of the coma, but they don't have much time. They have like 6 hours. So they kind of formulate this serum, which is
Mm-hmm.
incredible to do in 6 hours if you think about it.
For
And
sure.
and I forgot what sparked it. The way that he like called out to her or something when he was like, when the guy got the exit pass, he like called out to her and she like heard it, and that's how she
Mm-hmm.
knew that he was still in there. She jumps him full of this serum, which sparks this nightmare while they're trying to get the exit pass in the dream world. It gets weird.
It gets really weird.
And like, long story short, a lot of chaos ensues. He's able to get the exit pass, and then Monkeybone steals it from him. And
Mm-hmm.
then Monkeybone leaves him high and dry.
Yep. And it's all a ploy because Giancarlo Esposito, who is playing Hypnos, wants there to be more nightmares. So
Apparently,
he
the
wants
town.
Monkeybone to get on there.
Yeah, the
Yes.
town exists through nightmares, and him and Monkeybone have a deal where if Monkeybone stole the exit pass and leaves through a Stu's body and finds a way to create more nightmares, that they'll let him have free will in Stu's body.
Mm-hmm.
And Stu gets thrown in prison. So, not to make matters worse, he gets thrown in prison for trying to steal an exit pass. So he's in
Yep.
prison in purgatory, which sounds like a real hell.
Yeah, it
Um,
does sound like it. And
and
there's like it's really weird. It's a really weird like there. It's like there's like a little person who portrays a rat, and it comes in. It's like, ah, oh, feeding time, back up, and all of a sudden, like from the ceiling, drops like popcorn, Skittles, lint, hair, like other nasty, weird shit,
like
and
pocket
all
stuff.
these, yes, and then all these people come rushing in from these different cell doors into Brendan's cell, and they're just like ravenously devouring everything. So we kind of get introduced to these characters, and it's like what Attila the Hun. Who were some of the other ones? Don't say the one that I know you're going to say. Say the other
Are we talking about the famous poet? That's the one I can't say.
ones. No, he's
So,
not a poet. He's an
well,
author.
there's Edgar Allan Poe in there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
and it's actually, that dude is actually a direct descendant of Edgar Allan Poe. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
He's like Edgar Allan Poe the fifth or something like that. I can't remember, but like he actually was Edgar Allan Poe. But yeah, that's the couple that I remember. Who are you thinking of?
Stephen King.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
almost like rejected that from my memory. As we said before, there's a lot of fodder here, and it's kind of one of those things where it kind of gets boring, you know?
Yes.
Like, and it's really boring in these jail cell scenes, and they kind of drag because everyone's in the
Yes.
background and he's just kind of mopey. But Monkeybone gets out in the real world, and he's got Stu's body, and immediately grows like a soul patch on his lip
Yes.
that
Yep.
represents him being bad, apparently. And it's not a monkey in a man's body like you would think it is. It is legitimately like all the inhibitions that Brendan Fraser has are just out the window. He is sexually charged. He is crude and crass.
Yep.
And he is like pushing down like on the comic strip and the merchandise. He's dressing in all leather at points. He's watching two monkeys have sex on National
That
Geographic.
was that was one where I was like, definitely not a kids movie. Although I thought that whole scene was pretty funny, the way they shot it, and it kind of makes you think that he's looking at her in the shower, and he's not. He's watching two monkeys get freaky.
Yeah.
It's like a like baboons like in a tree, and it's like it's yeah that you know what they're doing. He's kind of like
Yeah,
wow.
he's like, yeah, it's almost like he's watching porn, and then he ends up like he goes to have sex with his girlfriend, and he does like all this swinging on the bedpost and all this like kind of strip tease, and she's like really turned off by it all. And the soul patch is just one of those things where I can't. That was like we didn't need that. We know he's the monkey. He doesn't. The soul patch never. It made no sense to me, and it's terrible. It looks like somebody took a Sharpie and just dotted his chin.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
And speeding along, like that's kind of what's happening in the real world. Stu in his jail cell in downtown starts making friends, or didn't really start making friends. We have a reoccurring character. What was her name? Like Lisa or Lily or something like that. But she's kind of like she was like a bartender at the bar that he was at, and she kind of was smitten with him a little bit, but also kind of realized he's like a
Oh,
really good
Kitty,
dude. Kitty, that's right, because
Kitty,
she's kind of like dressed
she's a
like a
cat.
cat. Yeah,
Yeah, but because this is where like this is some of the she was actually supposed to be like a cat because she was like I don't remember she would like purr at him and like say things that would like sound like a cat saying them, and she also has really shitty face makeup on to be like a
it's
cat. It's
horrible.
really bad. It's terrible.
And she
And
plays
this
a
is one of
good
those where
role, but like
she does. It's
but it's
Rose McGowan.
but it's awful, like an awful character that they're trying to shoehorn in.
Yeah.
Like he has more interactions with everyone else, including the Stephen King character, than he does with her. And then she
Yep.
plays a pivotal role at the end, in which we'll get there. But in the meantime, in the real world, the Monkeybone's trying to figure out a way to he's trying to figure out a way to release the gas that his girlfriend had made because it invokes nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
And he realizes that. And there's one point where when he falls asleep, he goes back into the world as Stu, and Hypno starts like being like, "What are you doing? All you're doing is living it up in the real world. We had an agreement, and when you're asleep, you're mine again, and I can make your
Yes.
life a living hell." So
Mm-hmm.
when he goes back to the real world, he's like, "Okay, I gotta be serious now." And there's like we're jumping around the timeline here, but again, not a lot's happening. There's like a board meeting about the merchandise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they introduced this like plush monkey for kids, and it's got its thumb in its ass,
It does. He's
and
he's like remove his thumb.
it's like a farting monkey. He's like, remove the thumb, and it farts, and it sends out this like yellow mist
Yeah,
that's
it's
like,
real nasty.
and it dude. The part I did laugh at, I don't think it was intentional, but they're all like hilariously like laughing. Like this is what a 7-year-old laughs at is fart jokes. But
Mm-hmm.
across the table, one of the CEOs gets the fart dust on him, and it just
He
stains his
does.
entire suit. So I
He
was like,
does.
why would you do that? And he gets the idea because he's like, can we change the liquid that goes in here? And they're like, yeah, we don't care. So he's like,
Yeah.
okay, he's going to sell this product, and it's going to go out to millions of Americans, and they're just going to fart all over each other and have nightmares. That's the master plan. He gets together with his agent, and he's like, we're going to do this in a grand style. We're going to have this huge gala at the Natural History Museum. Because why? To
Yeah.
promote Monkeybone. It makes no sense why they're doing it there. But that's where they're having it, and he's going to launch the product there. So
Mm-hmm.
now we have our deadline. And Brendan Fraser, Stu, knows what's happening, and he's like, I got to get back. I got to get back. And there's one point where Kitty hands him a key and some milk.
Yeah. She goes in there and pretty much just saves him
Yeah.
because
He's a good dude.
he's trying. He's good dude, and she's genuinely trying to help, and she likes him too. So she's like, "You're the only honest man I've ever seen around here." She hands him. She's like, "You're gonna need these on your trip," which I thought was hilarious. She was like, I didn't understand at first what the joke was, Chase, but I was. She hands him a bottle of milk. She hands him two tins of sardines, and a key. And I was like, Oh, she's like, this is what you'll need as a cat, like giving a cat get like it's when a cat gives you like a dead mouse or something like you'll need this on
Yeah,
your
you'll
trip.
need
This is
this on
food.
your
You'll
journey.
need this. So she gives him two things cats love: milk and fucking
See, I
sardines.
would have loved if she just vomited up a dead mouse. I think that's the
Right.
missed joke right there. Like it's like or a bird.
Well, there's
Uh,
no. That's why I know you've never owned a cat. There's no regurgitation. It's just a dead thing that they just messed up and they just pop it right in front of you,
and
corpse.
it's a
Here you
gift.
go.
I'm like, oh, thank you. Oh,
Hmm.
thanks,
But
squirrel.
to that point, I will raise you one. And what happens right after he gets out? He's like, what are you gonna do about the guard? She's like, oh, that rat. I'll take care of him.
And she does because she is,
She
that.
she gets him, and you can just hear. And Brendan Fraser walks out. Stu walks out, and he looks to the left, and he's like, he kind of looks at her. He's like, oh my god, taken aback, and she's knelt over the rat guard and actively like ripping his throat out. And she's got
Oh
blood all
yeah,
over her
it was
face,
so good. Yeah,
and she's like, "You need to run now." And her eyes changed too. I don't know if you
yeah,
saw
it
that, but
was
like her eyes were like a
creepy.
cat.
It was
It was
creepy.
weird. I loved it though. I thought that was great. I was
Great
like, what a
touch.
fun, creative choice right there. It was
Create
really fun.
and that whole scene was fun and like that kind of
It
brought me
was.
back into that like I said,
Yep.
I kind of wish you did more of a dead creature than the milk and sardines, but it still hits the same.
It still hits. It's
um
yes. It wasn't as funny as
so
what a dead mouse could have been.
and this movie's not very funny in my opinion. There may be a couple spots there, but there are a few like little gags here that made me chuckle. We're gonna get to the majority of the comedic element in just a second, but
Indeed.
he gets out and he goes back to death and he basically
Yep.
just says, I have to see her again, even if it's just for a moment. It's a really sweet scene because it is
It
like
is.
you sacrifice everything for one more moment, right?
Yep.
And he sacrifices everything and death is like, I like you, I like your comic strip, so we need to find you a
Yeah.
body. And so
Yeah. We just gotta.
sends him into the
She's
world, and who's the body that he ends up in?
he ends up in a dead gymnast body who
Played
had a
by
tragic
Chris
accident.
Kattan.
Yes, and this is a highlight of the movie. If you don't watch this movie for anything but this moment, just watch it for this.
Yeah, I think you
He's
can fast forward to an hour in and get to the last 30 minutes, and you get all you need out of this movie. And it is, and Chris
Mhm.
Kattan is in prime form here, which I don't know if you
Great.
know this. I looked this up. The reason that he played a dead gymnast with a broken neck is because he did break his neck on
Oh
SNL
shit,
doing gymnast
that's hilarious.
stunt. So it actually is an Easter egg and like an inside joke, but
Funny.
and he's like an Olympic gymnast and he's kind of
He
dressed
is.
like in the Olympic. And so when Brendan Fraser comes back up, Chris Kattan is on the operating table and they're pulling out his organs
Yeah, they are
because he's an organ
actively.
donor. And he just wakes up on the table and his neck is snapped. So it's just like
Mhm.
hanging to one side. And the way that he was jolting around was so fucking funny.
It was so good. The
And he's
physical comedy is amazing, and he's such a good physical comedian. And it was just very like, he just made you believe that he was a corpse. Like
yeah,
it didn't
he
make it was
did. And
it
he
was
made you believe
very
the
very well
neck was
done.
broken. I like
Hmm.
when do you see that? He looked like he had a broken neck, and the way he was running and his neck was just bobbing to the left, and he was running
So
with like
good.
high knees because he was like trying
So
to
good.
overcompensate. But they're like, give us your organs. They don't even care that this man just reanimated, which is weird because that happens a couple of times in this movie where there's no
Does somebody just
line.
goes back? Yeah, they
There's
just come back from the dead.
yeah, I just pulled your pancreas out and now you're
Yeah.
reanimated. And then he grabs the bone saw and he's like, he
Yep.
can't look at him, his neck, because his neck is broken. And he's just like throwing this. He's like, get back, get back. And he's like, turn the bone saw on. And so they're like, whoa,
He
whoa,
was like,
whoa.
no, he was like, get back, be careful. I have a. And he pauses, and Bob Odenkirk goes, a bone saw? Yeah. Like, and he just like, "Ring." And it's such a funny scene. And Bob Odenkirk, by the way, is the lead surgeon, and he is prime time on this, just very matter of fact, like, hey, get back here. Those are our organs.
Those are our organs.
Those are Give those organs back. It's
You're gonna dirty him up.
funny.
Like I think he
Yeah.
says that at one point. So like, and then so they don't care that he's reanimated. They just
And then
want
he
the
doesn't give,
organs.
which is so funny. I thought that was such a farcical element. Like I totally believed all of that. I didn't second guess it for a minute. They're like, get us our organs.
Yeah.
Get back here.
That's
I don't
and,
care if this is like if you figured out like everlasting life. Those are our organs.
and that's what I kind of wanted was more farcical elements out of this movie, and I think it would have hit more instead of it plays itself too seriously. And at this point, it just loses it. Like it just goes into a farce. It's Chris Kattan SNL at its peak, and I'm like, this is entertainment. This is what I wanted. If you're gonna do this kind of weird story with like fart jokes, you might as well go all in with the crazy humor, kind of like Death Becomes Her. If you've ever seen that movie, great movie. Big shout out to Meryl Streep, Goldie Hawn, and Bruce Willis. They play up the farce, and they never look back, and it just works that way. You know, it's just like a long episode of SNL, and that's kind of where Chris Kattan came in here. And he's in his body, and he's like trying to figure out how to navigate the world with a broken neck and no organs. So he like tapes himself up with duct tape. And what does he do next, Kyle? He gets on public transit.
He does, and he like starts making like all these gurgling, decomposing sounds.
He's holding
And
his
people
head
just
up.
look at it. Yeah, and he's So
He grabbed a woman's scarf at one point, tied it around his neck because he was trying to level it off.
it was really really funny.
But he's heading back to his house to try to find his girlfriend. Meanwhile, they're in transit over to the Natural History Museum. And the whole time he's been trying to propose to her. Monkeybone has proposed already with a different ring, I think.
Yes.
And she's like,
and she knows it. She's like, he's not himself. And he proposes with a brand new ring. She's like, it's a new ring? He's like, yeah. She doesn't know that like there was a whole agreement to give the heirloom ring. So she's like, well, that's definitely not him.
Grandmother's ring. Yeah. She's even telling her friends, I messed him up. He's not the same, and he's not the person I loved. And so Stu, now in Chris Kattan's body, is like figuring out how, like, what's going on. He's like, oh, they're going to be at the Natural History Museum. So he goes back to the house. He gets in. He grabs the ring that he had hidden, and he's like, I'm going to give this to her and prove it's me. And in the meantime, he takes like a ruler or like some sort of yardstick, puts it in the back, and tapes his head to it so his head can stay straight.
Yes, exactly.
And doesn't change his clothes. He's like yelling at his neighbor. He's like, "Oh, garden's looking good, man. Don't please don't call the police." And he like runs away real fast.
So good.
And then we kind of get to our crescendo here. So we get to the scene where Monkeybone in Stu's body is doing this big like presentation. There's a big inflatable. It's like the version of himself in the cartoon that we saw earlier.
Yeah, the head.
And it's kind of like, I guess, paper mache. But he's got that, and he's doing this a very elaborate song and dance. He's, got like dancers and stuff, and he's pretty much presenting Monkeybone. There's another funny scene here where his agent goes in with one of the merchandising that's been filled with the nightmare fuel, and he pulls it out, and it hits him in the face, and it's just stained his face blue, almost like an airplane bathroom. And he's like, what the fuck? He's like, why is this staining people? And then he starts like hallucinating and having a nightmare, and he sees his clothes attacking him. So he strips his clothes, and he's like running through the entire museum, and he's like yelling out, he's like, everybody take your clothes off. They're evil. Yes. Everybody, your clothes are evil. And he's running around
I think this was
naked.
Like, what wasn't this only like 5 years before Borat, when we should do the same exact thing with two men in real life?
Oh my God. So now I'm laughing a lot. Now I'm like really into the movie, which is, like we said. And there was another scene too that I needed to mention where Monkeybone was giving dogs nightmares, and so those nightmares were going back to Dreamtown or whatever. And Hypnos was like, "What the hell is this?" And it's a dog like having a nightmare. It's a bunch of cats with gardening shears about to cut its balls off. So like that was the dog's nightmare. So I thought that was funny too. So we're picking up the gags here. We're getting where we need to. But long story short, they're in there, and then Chris Kattan shows up. How he gets in there, he does his gymnast routine, and it's full SNL gymnast that he used to do, where he like does the pose, the T pose, and like starts jumping over the security guards and using like banisters and stuff to like flip over them and land. So he gets around all the security and confronts Monkeybone and his girlfriend. And his girlfriend, he says Doc. He calls her Doc. And that's what he's called her the whole movie. He's the only person that calls her that. And says that's not me. That's not me. And then security grabs him and starts pulling him away.
Mm-hmm. She goes after goes after security and goes to get the answer that she wants from him. And she goes with the security guy. She says, "Hold on, I need to talk to him." He goes, "Okay," and just stops.
Which no security guard would ever do that.
Ever, no. So he talks to her, and he gives her the ring, and she goes, "Oh shit, it's actually him." So this is when she's like, "Let him go," and they both go in there. Then they confront Monkeybone, and this is right after he's saying the whole ring bit for the monkey as Brendan Fraser's body was trying to give her the ring. But before he did that, he sang a song to her. Do you remember what the song was?
Oh man, I don't remember the song. I remember him singing it, but I don't think I.
He's saying she's a brick house.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, she's a brick house.
Just like, ignoring love, and it's just all lust.
All lust. It's just terrible. And it was. I just thought that was hilarious. He's like,
with his like little soul patch. His his full leather outfit was killing me too. Like he's wearing head to toe leather too. Mm-hmm. Like very tough.
This is the same kind of person that in like 9 years after this would be like, they would buy out Ed Hardy on a weekend, or in like the 2018s, like wear jean shorts and a fedora with like a vest outside. Like terrible judgment.
Oh, or somebody who's like a backup singer for Smash Mouth, like that kind of person.
Be careful, Chase. I wouldn't. Be careful.
What?
You don't want to anger the Smash Mouth folk.
Who?
Andrew's a big Smash Mouth fan. Okay.
Yeah. Well, he's sick right now and on his deathbed, so I don't.
He is. He's on the. Well, I don't want to say that. He's just. It's a very uncomplicated just time for him. He's living carefree.
Yeah,
with hantavirus.
Gretchen, you poor woman. What have you done?
Yes.
So she's like understanding now. And so she basically convinces the security guard to let him go. She like knows it's him. He grabs his backpack, which is a theme in the whole movie. Anytime Monkeybone gets like too carried away in the show that he's made, his comic book, in the dream world, he puts Monkeybone in a backpack. He's like, get in the backpack. And it's like him saying, like, I'm taking control of my actions. And so he goes up and he's like, in the backpack. And that makes Monkeybone freak out. And then they basically just have a brawl, right?
Yeah.
Like
it's a brawl that's an epic brawl. But I wanted to point out something. Did you notice that when Brendan Fraser was Monkeybone, did you notice that his teeth, they had like prosthetic teeth on?
I didn't.
Like chiclet teeth. Yeah. It's not his usual Brendan Fraser teeth. They're like chiclet teeth. They're big, which made him seem more like Monkeybone. And I was like, that's an interesting little touch right there.
Good catch.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a small touch that I really enjoyed. Very basic, simple, but they start chasing each other around essentially, and it winds up with them getting outside onto a hot air balloon of Monkeybone, and they both are like. They're both climbing the rope mooring to the Natural History Museum, and it gets cut off, and they just start floating away with the balloon across the entirety of, like, it would seem, I don't know, where are they at, LA?
That's what I was like trying to figure out earlier. I'm assuming LA, and that would make up for that $75,000 budget. They're filming in LA like that because wherever this was, they were filming there, and it looked very Los Angeles-y. Like a big park there, I guess. But what is it? Monkeybone hits the balloon itself and causes it to collapse. So they just
no. A police officer goes, "I think I can bring it down," and he gets his gun out, and she's like, the girlfriend's like, "No, wait," and he shoots it, and they both plummet to their death.
Yes, and they hit hard.
They do,
and it shows like the balloon coming down, everybody's staring, and then it hits, and then cuts to the crowd going, "Ooh." And so, and then we get another plummet, like Monkeybone and Brendan Fraser plummet
Yep.
back into the world, apparently not dead still, like, because that's where I was like, so they're going back in coma world, right? They're not going to the death world, right? So obviously they're going to be in a coma again, which I was like, okay. I think that would kill you, but here we are. And so they end up plummeting back in, and death catches them in this big metal contraption that looks like it's from Power Rangers, and catches them one on each hand, right? And she's talking to Brendan Fraser, like, and she was like, how was it? And he was like, she was beautiful. Thank you. I'm all yours now. And then that's when she's like, I'm going to send you back. And he was like, "You gonna send me back?"
She smashes Monkeybone back into,
which was funny because Monkeybone actually said something funny here. He was on the other hand, and he was like, "Excuse me, I hate to interrupt, but my monkey bladder is." So he's got a piss the whole time, and so that's when she smashes them together, and she was like, "You're too vanilla without him." Yep. So now Monkeybone is now again a part of him, and more subdued. So she ends up just flicking him in the ass. All the way up through Abraham Lincoln's mouth.
And he emancipator.
He ends up back into the world. He wakes up in the damn ambulance right next to Chris Kattan's dead body. And he's fine. No contusions, no broken bones, no nothing. And he looks at the driver of the ambulance, like, hey, can I borrow that? And he has a razor, so he shaves off the soul patch.
Which is great.
Still wearing all the leather, too. But long story short, he ends up meeting up with his girlfriend and their dog, who understands it's him, which we didn't get into, which is just a moot point. But ends up with her and proposes to her. They're back together, and that pretty much ends Monkeybone. Like it kind of ended pretty quick. Like
didn't linger too long. It was respectful in that sense.
Yeah,
we were on the same page.
Hour and a half, we got through it. Kyle, start with you. What did you think of this movie as an adult?
I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't the best movie I've ever seen by any stretch of any imagination. There are probably better PG-13 movies to watch. And also knowing that Scary Movie 3 came out at this time, which is one of the funniest scary movies of all time.
Yes, good
which is hilarious.
Also, Joe Dirt came out around this time, which
Joe Dirt,
was funny.
Which is not a bad movie. Well, again, there's other ones that are in here, but like, it has heart, and it tried to do something different, and it didn't fully crumble under its own story. And I think it took itself too seriously sometimes. I do agree with you, Chase, but I also don't think it detracted from the film that much. I think it was pretty well done. So I did laugh at a couple points, and like when Stu is in the underworld and Monkeybone is Stu's body. There is a moment when he comes home and the dog starts barking at him, and he like jumps up on the mantle of the fireplace and goes like, whatever, don't believe him. Don't believe anything that bastard says. He's lying. I was like, that's actually really funny. It was really funny. So I was like, there are some parts in there that I thought it did make me audibly laugh. So if you're going to get an audibly laugh from me, I thought it was pretty good.
And that's much better than what we got last week, where me and Andrew got really upset. But I agree with you. I think the first hour it feels like it drags for a while. The pacing of this movie is all over the place at times. They do a lot of setup for the first hour. Now, the last 30 minutes I've thoroughly enjoyed. And it's not going to hit for everybody. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but the absurdity of it and how, I mean, like I said, Chris Kattan kind of saved this movie for me. Where I was like leaning at this point at the hour mark, I was like, this movie does not hold up. This is boring. It's not like, other than a couple of gags here or there, it's not atrocious. I wasn't like, oh, this movie sucks. I was never like that. But I was like, it's just not doing it for me. And then all of a sudden, he comes in, saves the shit out of this movie. And I'm like, okay, that was a pretty decent watch. I agree with you. I think that they tried some things that I appreciate when they take like a creative perspective on things and try to tell their stories through different mediums. Instead of being safe like Marvel out there that's going to like give you the same movie every time and you're still going to pay for it somehow. That's my Marvel reference of the week. But it's something different. I don't know if it's going to be for everybody. Like, I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to go back and watch this and be like, oh yeah, Kyle Chase were right. This kind of is like a little gem. But some people may actually get a kick out of it. And I think if you're out there listening and you have any nostalgia for this movie, I think for an hour and a half watch, it's not too bad. And
Yeah.
not too bad is kind of where I want to land on it. Parts of it are decent. Parts of it are not that great. I don't think anything's too atrocious. I don't think anything's too great either. It's just kind of, and that kind of makes sense for what critics think about it, and it kind of made sense for the money it made. Although I do think it should have made more money, but I'm curious about that release window. A movie like this being released in the summer, and especially in 2001, was probably dealing with some real heavy hitters. So that probably buried it in theaters as well. But a $75 million budget for $7 million in return is not very good. Yeah.
Terrible.
Do you think it holds up?
Yes. It made me laugh a couple times, and not in a way that was like, oh, this is so bad I have to laugh. Like, this is terrible. They meant for somebody to laugh at that time, and it was funny. But it's not like a big, rousing 2 thumbs up for me. It holds up. Yeah.
I was on the fence. I think it holds up, but barely. I think it holds up. Chris Kattan, number 1. And number 2, I think the world that they built was pretty interesting to look at and watch.
Yeah.
The early part of this movie, the humor does not hold up. I will say that. The fart jokes, and like we said, like it's just kind of over-sexualized. And it's like, hey, look, it's a monkey with boobs. That's funny, right, kids? And that kind of didn't work for me. But when they get into kind of more the slapstick at the end, and like I said, the premise of the movie is very inventive. You won't see another movie like this, which is interesting to say. But I say it holds up, but barely. What do you want to give it IMDb rating wise?
For my IMDb rating, I'll give it a 6.5. No, 6.1. Give it a 6.1.
I think I'm going to do 5.8. I think
that's fair. I think anything above 5.5 is fair for this one.
What do you think it has on IMDb?
2.1.
It's 4.8. So
wow.
Yeah.
So people hate this movie.
Yeah.
Not a well-liked movie.
Yeah, I could see it being a cult classic too. If enough people kind of get their hands on it and watch it, I can see it being kind of that movie that kind of carries on through there.
Yeah.
You know what we do around here. We kind of reach in through your childhood nostalgia, pull the movies from your past out. Today, we've pulled out Monkeybone from the Dreamtown, and we found out it holds up, but barely. Maybe circumstantial hold up. Maybe some of you should go watch it. Maybe some of you shouldn't. Kyle, do you want to tell the folks at home what we're doing next week?
So next week, you can join us on your favorite starship. We're going to go squash some bugs. We got to save the galaxy and become some starship troopers. Hey, Chase?
Yeah, we got to do that. A very politically charged movie from the 90s. Will it hold up? We'll see. Find us out next week. Andrew is still going to be missing in action. He won't be back for a couple of weeks, so this may be the best time to listen to our show. Go get you some Kirkland signature products while you're at it. We will see you all next Thursday for Starship Troopers.